Madrid. Great art, great food, great people, great sports, and great science.
Welcome to the Spanish National Center for Cardiovascular Research, the CNIC. Within the next minutes, I will guide you through a tour where the history, origin, activity, facilities of this unique research center will be presented. But first of all, let me introduce you the General Director of the CNIC, Professor Valentín Fuster, who comes once a week to the center from New York.
The CNIC represents a new model of cardiovascular research with emphasis on close collaboration between basic and clinical researchers to enable acquired knowledge to be transformed into real health benefits to society. The CNIC, recognized by the Spanish government as a Severo Ochoa Center of Excellence, is financed through a pioneering public-private partnership between the government through the Carlos III Institute of Health and the ProCNIC Foundation, which brings together 12 of the most important Spanish private companies.
Over the past decade, the CNIC has built in Madrid an unrivaled infrastructure and a powerful cross-disciplinary research base that embraces multiple disciplines and both population and patient studies. The key ingredient underpinning the CNIC's success is a clear and consistently applied vision, at the heart of which is a shift from an emphasis on clinical events to the identification of cardiovascular disease in its preclinical stages. This goal is through three linked strategic arms: excellence in research, training, and translation into prevention and treatment.
CNIC's scientific area is organized into two departments, which are focused on basic research and clinical research, which are interconnected and grouped into three research areas that cover different aspects of the cardiovascular system. These areas are the vascular pathophysiology, the myocardial pathophysiology, and the cell and developmental biology.
One of the areas that we have significantly strengthened in the past 5 years is devoted to the study of cardiac arrhythmias. For leading such an ambitious program, 5 years ago we recruited Silvia Priori.
We are entering the patch clamp and calcium imaging area. Carmen Tarifa, a postdoc in my group, today is performing electrophysiology experiments using cells from a genetically modified pig that has been engineered to replicate a human disease. Moving forward, we now meet Demetrio Santiago, senior postdoc, who is using this advanced setup in which he can study ionic currents with patch clamp and at the same time visualize the calcium transient using confocal microscopy. This approach altogether helps gathering a comprehensive view of the integration of electrical properties and dynamic of the intracellular calcium release and to shed light on the genesis of cardiac arrhythmias.
Gaining mechanistic insights into those complex and life-threatening arrhythmias in translational animal models is the goal of our research group at CNIC. We are focused in preventing sudden death in young patients with inherited channelopathies. Our goal is to define the fundamental causes that lead to diseases that still lack a cure nowadays.
The advanced development in arrhythmia mechanisms and therapy laboratory focuses on investigating from a multidisciplinary approach the mechanisms underlying complex cardiac arrhythmias as atrial fibrillation or infra-related ventricular arrhythmia. We use highly translational animal models as our pig model of long-standing persistent atrial fibrillation, which represents a perfect experimental scenario to address the biological basis associated with individual progression of atrial remodeling during atrial fibrillation.
One of the star programs at the CNIC is the study of myocardial injuries. The large animal area in which we are now is the testing bank for novel therapies to be translated to early clinical trials. We have pig models for all these conditions, and even we generate our own transgenic pigs mimicking the human setting. therapies proven beneficial are then translated into a clinical trials area also from the CNIC. By doing this approach, we have already performed successful clinical trials that have reached the clinical guidelines level. This area is especially attractive for young cardiologists being trained at the CNIC, since all the procedures, interventions, imaging modalities and so on are the same that we are using in patients. The CNIC is deeply involved in clinical studies. A couple of years ago, we launched a clinical trials coordination unit to help clinical researchers in all steps of trial execution. This is an academic CRO used not only for trials coordinated by the CNIC, but also helping other academic centers and even with industry. The CNIC is currently leading several international randomized clinical trials. I can highlight a few of them, such as the REBOOT trial, which is a phase 4 pragmatic trial assessing the effectiveness of beta blockers in post-MI patients with normal ejection fraction. Another trial is the SECURE, which is testing the role of a secondary prevention strategy based on the use of a cardiovascular polypill, which includes aspirin, an ACE inhibitor and a statin. The International Resilience trial that will enroll cancer patients of high risk for cardiotoxicity undergoing chemotherapy with anthracyclines and will test the benefit of remote ischemic conditioning before each chemotherapy cycle. Also, the SPHERE heart failure trial is about to finish, and this is a trial which is enrolling patients of group 2 pulmonary hypertension, testing the benefits of a beta-3 adrenergic receptor agonist. Most of these trials are the result of previous research done at the experimental level at the CNIC. The CNIC also runs large observational studies, mainly in the field of primary prevention. In fact, the flagship study of the center is the PESA study.
The PESA project is a partnership between the CNIC and Santander Bank and studies the development of atherosclerotic plaques in 3 arterial territories: the carotid arteries, the abdominal aorta, and the iliofemoral arteries. PESA CNIC Santander is providing important information about the high prevalence of subclinical atherosclerosis in the general population and the need to detect it early.
Phyllis and CNIC have developed a joint technology able to massively reduce the time of cardiac magnetic resonance acquisition.
CNIC has an active program of interaction and collaboration with cardiovascular medicine specialists, mostly cardiologists, but also others like cardiac surgeons.
I am now part-time working as a clinician at Hospital Universitario Son Espases in Mallorca and as a researcher in CNIC on a 50% basis. CNIC has changed my life in many ways, and I feel now that I am finally giving back to the society what I obtained from them after so many years supporting my training.
Hi, I'm Xiaotong from China. I joined CNIC 3 years ago and I'm really excited to carry out my research on muscle stem cell and tissue regeneration. CNIC is one of the top research centers in Europe, and I'm very glad to work with all the brilliant scientists from all over the world and have the access to the cutting-edge facilities offered by CNIC. And of course, I feel very welcomed by the warm Spanish culture and sunshine and really enjoyed my work and life here.
I'm Sara Cogliati, senior postdoc at the CNIC. I joined the CNIC 6 years ago to study mitochondrial electron transport chain. Here I could improve my skill, use breakthrough technologies, and exchange ideas with amazing scientists. The environment and the facility of the CNIC have improved my development as an independent researcher and greatly advanced my training as a scientist.
Despite the relatively short history, the CNIC has demonstrated leadership and singular excellence in several key areas of research, training, and discovery of future talents. We deeply encourage postdocs and young cardiologists from Europe to join the center through our training programs.
We hope you have enjoyed this tour, and we really hope that you will come in Madrid to see us at CNIC. Bye-bye.